All right, it's 1205, 700 WLW. Rocky Boiman in today for Willie. It's a pleasure to be with you. Today, of course, is Good Friday, where we celebrate and remember the fact that Jesus died on the cross. And it's on days like this that I'm reminded of my fine Catholic upbringing that began at St. James in White Oak. It then from St. James moved on to St. Xavier High School, the finest Catholic Jesuit high school in all of the land. We're at St. Xavier. Before football games, one Father Edward Piggott would deliver the pregame mass, and he would give us a sermon. He would give us the words that would inspire us to defeat the godless barbarians from schools such as Deer Park. He would give us the wafer, the body of Christ, that nourished our bodies, to give us the strength to defeat the pagan infidels of schools like Coleraine, where one Segman Dennison went. It's through the inspiration of one Father Ed Piggott that allowed us to triumph over all that is good or over all that is evil in our world. Joining us now on the program is a man that Father Edward Piggott would probably not approve of. His name is David Silverman. He's the president of the American Atheist National Organization. He's the author of the best-selling book, Fighting God. David, welcome to the program. How are you?
Hey, Rocky, thanks for having me on the show. And no, I'm not evil at all.
David, were you born a godless heathen, or did you just have to work at it?
Well, we were all born godless heathens, of course, and then we're indoctrinated. And then we're indoctrinated by our parents into the religion that they see fit, which is why everybody believes in the God. Most people believe in the God that parents believed in. And that's the way it works in this country. And it's a good thing because we all get to see each other growing up in different ways and praying to different gods. And we get to, look at each other's gods individually and say, hey, this guy is really, really sure that elephant head God is real. And that elephant head God has exactly the same amount of evidence as my God on the cross or my God in the sky or with the unicorn. So it's a beautiful place.
Now, Dave, it's one thing to question, the certain beliefs of some religions here and there. It's another thing to believe in no God, no religion whatsoever. David, how did you come to this? Was there a tipping point in your life where you said, nope, I'm not buying this anymore. I don't believe in God and I don't believe in religion?
There is. There was a time when I was 6 years old when I stopped believing in God, the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, and Santa Claus all at the same time. And
wait. The Tooth Fairy isn't real either?
Yeah, I know. No kidding, huh? It's something that it really kind of clicked for me that they were all actually the same thing, something that you couldn't see, that you couldn't detect, that other people told you would somehow punish you if you did bad or reward you if you did good. I mean, think about it. He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows when you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. Quick, who am I talking about?
Santa Claus.
Right, but you had to think about it, and it also sounds exactly like God. It also sounds exactly like the Easter Bunny if you're at 6 years old and the Tooth Fairy. So basically, when I was 6 years old, I made that equation. And then, of course, I started asking all the questions. I told my mother right away, and she told me to ask my rabbi and my Hebrew school teacher, and I asked all those questions, but I didn't get any answers that changed my mind. And here I am, let's just say some years later, and I still haven't gotten any good answers to those questions.
But David,
and now I'm president of American Atheists.
Well, there you go. So, but here's my question. Like in the business world, David, business people talk about risk management, where essentially you kind of hedge your bets and where you kind of cover all bases. So I guess my question is, wouldn't you rather just for this, maybe this God guy is real, and the day I die, I go up there and I have just enough proof or evidence in my back pocket. I said, I did enough, God, that where if you are real, now I don't look like a fool, basically. I mean, you may believe just enough to save yourself from possibly burning in hell should God be real. No?
Well, you wouldn't be believing. You'd be faking it. You'd be faking believing. And if your God is real, then your God can read minds. Because, of course, we learn in Matthew that it's about faith and not about acts. So if your God can read minds, he would know that I was faking it for the selfish reason of getting into heaven. But it's more than that. Because it's not just your God versus no God. There are thousands of gods out there. And they all have big punishments. So what if you die and it turns out that it's actually Zeus that's the true God. And now you're going to go to Hades for believing in some false god and not going to Zeus. Do you actually consider that? It's very, very important that people understand that it's not your way versus my way. There's thousands of different gods out there with thousands of different punishments for not believing, and they all have the exact same amount of evidence to support their positions. Zero. Which is why I'm an atheist.
Right. Well, and what you're saying actually does make some sense. Now, I guess from my perspective, I choose to believe ultimately in a higher being. Now, I am Catholic, but do I believe everything about the Catholic faith is exactly 100% true? I don't know, but ultimately, David, I at least believe there is some higher power, whether you call him God, you call him Allah, you call him Zeus, you call him whatever you want to call him, and that somehow, some way, through other things like evolution and science and all that, he's allowed the world and allowed life to exist. Does that not make any sense?
No, it actually doesn't. It sounds like you're making up your own God. Because the God that you just described to me, that's not the God of the Bible. The God of the Bible created all the animals in their own kind in 6 days, and it's very clear. And the other, this whole concept of your God being the same God as Allah, the same God as Vishnu, this is something that you're kind of making up. And I don't want to put you into a corner, but you said something also.
I'm not making it up.
Really,
I just believe there's a higher being. I believe that life is not accidental. I didn't just happen to show up here, and I know start from a single cell organism and move to a 2, move to a 4. I believe that happened, but I think God had to have some sort of God had to have some kind of hand in that. That's what I believe.
Okay, so why do you think some sort of God had to have some sort of hand in that?
Because it's too complex to just happen by chance, David. That's my thing.
Okay, so basically, your basic concept for the existence of God is that there's a lot of stuff that is way too complex for you to understand. So you're assigning that misunderstanding. You're explaining that which you don't understand by assigning it to a supernatural being.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, so that is called the God of the gaps. And 150,000 years ago, apparently, the Neanderthals invented that. They looked at the sky, and they saw the clouds moving across, and they saw the sun moving across, and they said, why does that happen? I don't know. Therefore, God did it. And then as we learned why the sun moved across the sky, God didn't do that anymore. Now we have scientific explanations for that. Now God does other things. God does fewer things and fewer things and fewer things. And now we're at the point where as a society we say, well, look at the universe. We know how evolution happened, and we know how the sun formed and how the earth formed, but we don't know how the universe formed. So that's going to be what we assign to God. And we don't know a lot of things, but that is not evidence for the existence of a deity. That's evidence for our own ignorance, our own lack of knowledge. And saying, okay, I don't know, therefore a God did it, is kind of a cop-out, Rocky, because the actual truth is, I don't know is the answer. And we're never going to know. And to say, I don't know, I don't understand it, so it must be an invisible man in the sky, well, that is what the Neanderthals did. That is God of the gaps, and it's not logical. It's no more logical than to say, I don't know how.
Yeah, but there's other things in life, David, that are not logical. I mean, is love logical? Is faith in anything logical? It's hard to explain all the mechanisms that make these things possible. When I say, I don't know if you're married, David, but I say, do you love your wife? Well, yes. Well, we'll prove it. There's things that maybe can't be explained. And one of them, I guess, would be, yes, there's lots of scientific explanations for how we're here. We're all molecules of hydrogen and carbon and this and that, but who made the atoms of carbon and hydrogen possible that allowed these things to come together? And who had a hand in making them formulate in such a complex way that I'm able to sit in a studio and look at a thing called a computer and look at a thing called a TV and talk through a thing called a radio? It seems it's very, very complex.
Yeah, and you're asking the wrong question, if I may. You shouldn't be asking who did this. You should be asking how did this happen. By asking who did this, you're implying a God. But again,
I'm implying a higher power, someone
when you say
smarter and more knowledgeable than me.
Right, you're leading the question. The real question is, how can we explain this? And the answer to your question, and that's the difference between you and me, Rocky. The answer to your question is that I say, I don't know. And you say, I don't know, therefore a God did it.
Right.
And you don't have any positive proof, any positive evidence for a God
you're
did
right.
it.
No, it's called faith. That's why it's called faith. It's somewhat of a blind belief.
And every time somebody has said, I don't know, therefore God did it, and that answer has been answered, that question has been answered, it's never actually been God did it. In fact, the sum total of times in the world history that God did it or anything supernatural ever has been proven true is zero. And if I'm proven wrong on that point, as I say in my book, Fighting God, if I'm proven wrong on that point, that there has never been anything supernatural proven ever, even once, I'll quit my job. It's all a scam. It's all a lie. The whole concept that there's anything supernatural ever, any psychics, any miracles, any gods, any life after death, anything supernatural at all is all hype, and if anybody can prove me wrong even once across all religions, I will quit my job. It's all a lie.
Well, and David, look, I understand the arguments. Where's the evidence? And religious books were written a long time ago that science now explains why a bolt of lightning went across the sky. And, there's scientific explanations behind these things. But here's the one for me is, how do you deal with, David, the fact that one day you will die? That's a certainty. But the knowledge that when that happens, nothing else will have to happen after that. You'll never see your grandparents again. You'll never see your father and mother again. You'll never see your kids again. I mean, that's a hard thing to live with. And I think that's the reason why of course, no one knows for sure if there's a God, but I think a lot of people have faith, and you may say it's stupid, but a lot of people have faith because they say, God, if this is all that it is, if this is all life is about, that we die and then there's nothing after that, that's a hard thing for people to live with, David.
It's a real hard thing for people to live with, but it is true nonetheless. It sucks. It's horrible. It's terrible. And I wish, and I say and again in the book, I wish I was wrong, but I'm not. And it's, you can say, well, I want to pretend that reality is false and that everybody lives forever and we're all going, and all the good guys go to heaven and all the bad guys go to hell. Well, that sounds like a fantasy because it is a fantasy, and I wish it were true, but there is absolutely no reason to believe in a life after death. There's absolutely no reason to believe it. So, yeah, I think we should face reality. We are all going to die, and it sucks. It's terrible. I wish it weren't true, but it's true anyways. Also, the World Trade Center fell. I wish that wasn't true, but it's true anyways. There's hunger, there's starvation, there's disease. I really wish it was true.
Right. Well, and here's
reality is harsh, and we have to live with reality. We have to look at reality, because the problem is that when people stop looking at reality and start living in fantasy, they start wasting their lives, their one life, giving money to a fantasy, giving homage to a fantasy, giving respect and love and power to a lie, because they don't want to realize what the truth is. They don't want to deal with the truth. But
David, I think both your side and the side of people that believe in some sort of higher being, I don't think it's hard to say that you're totally right or we're totally wrong or we're totally right and vice versa. I mean, you could be wrong too. It's not just science. You could be dead wrong too. You could die tomorrow and you go up there and the man looks at you and says, "Oh, you're that guy that didn't believe in me," and you go, "Oh crap!" Right? None of us know.
And there is zero evidence to suggest that I'm wrong, and there's zero evidence to suggest that you're right. Now, yes, of course, nobody knows everything in the universe, but we do have the words definite and sure and certain. And for the things that we say are definite and sure and certain about it, if we apply the same standards to religion, we are definitely sure, we are certain there are no gods. Now, I wish that weren't true. But there is absolutely no evidence, and I challenge you, and I challenge all of your listeners, there's absolutely no evidence for anything supernatural ever, no scientifically valid evidence for anything supernatural ever. And we all know that dogs die, and cats die, and dolphins die, and monkeys die.
Very sad,
Well,
yes.
Guess what? Humans die too, and it sucks, but it's true.
Well, my dog is going to go to dog heaven, David.
I don't think he is, my friend. I wish
we're having fun here, but
again,
let me ask you this:
went to dog heaven.
Yeah.
I wish my dog went to dog heaven. I wish all of that.
I'm going to see my childhood dog again. Let me ask you this: so, I mean, do you not feel like religion gives you some sort of moral compass in life? Not that you need religion, but just the fact that there's maybe somebody looking down upon you that's steering you in the right way and watching the decisions you make and helping you through life. Do you not feel that at all? Nothing?
No, not at all. I have a moral compass the same way you have a moral compass. The only difference is that you give credit for that moral compass to religion, and I give credit to that moral compass to my brain and my upbringing and my surroundings, which is where you get your moral compass. The only difference is that religion loves to take credit where it's not due. It's like if religion told you, hey, Rocky, you have 2 arms because you're a Christian. You're welcome. Right? Everybody has 2 arms, but religion is taking the credit for it. So that's why there's no statistical difference, or actually atheists are statistically less likely to be in prison because we actually perform fewer crimes, not more. If right now in this country, and I say this again in Fighting God, that we're about 27% atheist in this country right now. I can defend that
I believe
number.
that because our moral
Now,
compass in this world has gone to hell. No pun intended.
But think about if 27% of the country was immoral. Think about that. And the thing is that we would have much more atheists in prison than we do, but we don't. So the evidence doesn't bear it out again, and you can see how all of these different churches, they all have their claims on morality. They all say they do morality, but they all perform a different morality. God is pro-choice. God is pro-life. God is pro-abortion. God is anti-abortion. God is this. God is pro-gay marriage. God is anti-gay marriage. Everybody makes it up. Everybody's God is a direct reflection of themselves. I can tell you something.
Okay.
So I can tell you something. A good example, Rocky, is that I can tell you, having never met you, that your God, the God you believe in, agrees with you on moral stances 100% of the time. There is nothing that you think, God is this way, but I disagree.
No, absolutely. Look, I'm not a god, David. I don't wear religion on my sleeve at all. I mean, you're not going to see me singing and dancing and praising and doing all this stuff. And people that do, that's fine. That's just not me. I just choose to believe in a higher power because, A, I don't think all of this could have happened completely by chance. And B, I guess part of me, and no one knows for sure, but part of me says, God, if this is it, and then one day I don't get to see, when my dad passes away, I won't get to see him again, or I won't get to see my grandparents again, or I won't get to see my son again one day when I die. And I guess I would rather, fault on believing that, not like totally, being a psycho about it, but I would rather fault on believing that and have it be untrue than not believe it and turn out it does wind up being true. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I mean, you could also choose to believe that you're king of the world, that when you die, you're going to be king of the universe, and you're going to get your own planet like the Mormons do or something like that. There's absolutely no reason to believe it. And as far as atheists is concerned, as far as I'm concerned, it's very important to not be taken in by scams, especially when scams offer you things they cannot provide, like an afterlife. Give me money, or believe this way, or do as I think, and God will favor you in the afterlife after everybody looks at you and sees that you're dead. It's a great fantasy. It's also a fantastic scam because it plays on our core fear. Our biggest fear as a species is death. That's what religion does. Mm-hmm. It allows you to not believe in death. Oh, it looks like you die, but you actually go somewhere. Dogs die and cats die, but we really don't die. We live forever. It's a fantasy, and it's a very good fantasy, and that's why it makes so much money. But that's not true, and there's absolutely no reason to believe it.
Well, David, look, we got to run, but I appreciate your time. You think I'm wrong, I think you're wrong, but you make some good points, and all I can say is Father Edward Piggott would not approve right now, David. That's all I can say.
And that's okay. Father Edward Piggott sounds like somebody I could sit down with and have a beer with, and we could talk about my book, and we could see where we could go. So Father Edward, if you're still out there,
he's out. He's 97. He could probably still kick your ass, David. How about that?
I'd like that.
David, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Hey, man, thanks a bunch, man. Take care.
Thank you. David Silverman, president of the American Atheist National Organization. You can find his book called Fighting God. Let's take a couple